I'm so salty.
Hello everyone and welcome to an Anime Club After Dark special. I'm your host Alex, but you can call me Senpai, and joining me tonight we have our Chivalry of Shota, Shotaro.
First things first, I'm the realist.
Jesus Christ. And tonight we are doing our fourth episodic review of Sarazanmai. So, show.
Me.
Yes, you. Episode 4, we learned a little bit about Toei and his brother, his older brother. First of all, his older brother has a name now. It's not just Toei's older brother. His name is Chikai. What does Chikai mean in Japanese?
Chikai.
You're the one that put this down. You looked this up.
Okay, the only reason I noticed this is that anime characters like to say Chikai when someone is too close to them. But Chikai literally means close. Mm-hmm. So I think there's a heavy incest vibe.
Oh, God.
In general, between all the family relations so far. I mean,
oh my.
Tell me I'm wrong.
I mean, yes, Chikai does mean close. I won't say you're wrong about that. The incest may be going a bit too far.
No, but like, I mean, we've talked about how there've been, like, in the OP, it's hinted that Kazuki is like into his brother. And in the same OP, it's hinted that there's a bond between Chikai and Toei. So
you know what?
A bond that is equivalent to the two police officers stripping their shirts off and yanking
groping
their heart
each
out.
other.
Yep, that's the type of bond they have together. That's what I'm getting from this. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm not gonna say you're not wrong, but you may not be wrong. That remains to be seen. I do think it's interesting that his name is Chikai. I almost said Nitai.
I know.
Nitai's not even on this episode. I do think it's interesting that his name is Chikai, which does literally mean close in Japanese. It does kind of imply that there is a very close relationship to them, and this wouldn't be the first time in anime that there's been very appropriate name schemes.
I don't think Chikai is even a real name. I think like it's such an absurd name that it's part of the absurdity of the show.
Neither is Koyomi.
What does Koyomi mean?
Koyomi literally means calendar.
Lol, I didn't know that.
The Monogatari series is famous for its taking names from random nouns. Well, yeah, maybe it's something similar to that. I mean, we already pointed out in almost every single episode that we've done so far that there are definitely allusions to the Monogatari series. Maybe this is just another one.
Probably.
But something that does happen, besides Toei's brother getting a name, before the OP even plays, we see him shooting someone right in the back.
Yep. I mean, I'm not surprised. We saw him.
Well, based on what little we know about him so far, I'm not surprised either. He does seem like he's on, let's say, he's not exactly on the up and up.
I don't know what that phrase means, but we've already seen him.
He does illegal things.
Oh, I know that. Yeah, but we've already seen him torturing someone in the first episode, so.
Which we get to see again. He's he's talking to his little brother on the phone, just casually waterboarding someone in a bathtub.
I know, and there's like evidence to make it seem like he broke into that person's home and then tortured them in their own home. So, and it's just all casual, and I'm like, wow, this is so graphic. This is way more graphic than you would expect.
It is, but I mean, there's also a lot about that you have to imply. I mean, like you say, it's heavily implied that this person's home has been broken into. It's kind of implied that this person that's being tortured may have had a dealing with Chikai in some way, and he reneged on it, and this is his punishment.
Something like that.
It's not explicitly stated why this is happening. It's just happening.
It's just part of his daily life.
Yeah, just randomly waterboarding people whose houses he breaks into.
Yeah.
What a life. If only we could all have it.
No.
But there's definitely there's definitely allusions to a whole Yakuza slash mob vibe going on throughout this episode with both Chikai and Toi.
I mean, they're mob brothers.
Yeah. And I just thought it was it because we got a hint of it before when we found out that Toi runs basically a grow house out of an apartment. But it was nice to actually get confirmation of this. Like this is definitely, they're involved in some shady shit.
I mean, I don't even think it's confirmation. The grow house itself was confirmation. The first scene where they were waterboarding was confirmation.
Yeah, that was a little extra, as you would say.
Yeah, definitely. Well, like
something else.
They spelled it out. Like later on, as we see in this episode, they literally spelled it out.
Yeah, before they gave us hints, they actually spelled it out in this episode. It was way more overt.
Yeah.
Than implied. Something else that happened in this episode was we got a pretty good look into Toei's past.
This is basically Toei's episode. We get to
pretty
know
much.
who Toei is. He's not just a freckle emo boy.
Yeah, we do. We get to actually learn a lot about him. One of the things that we do learn is that his parents, Toei and Chikai's parents, had committed suicide in the past because a friend of theirs tricked them into accumulating an enormous debt for the it was udon or soba. It was soba shop.
Udon.
It's like udon.
It was Bukake udon.
Oh my god! Don't bring that back up.
I love how this is initially brought up with Enta asking Toei. What did he ask him? Oh, why did you transfer to school? And then Toei answers, well, my parents died. And I'm like, wow, that came out of nowhere. Just dropping these bombs. And then we learned that they committed suicide. It's like, well, now I know why you fucked up. No, I don't want to be. Nothing against people with without biological parents, but
it's definitely a trope in anime. Especially if you're a main character, you seem to not have a lot of parents.
I mean, but this is way more realistic than usual anime.
True.
I mean, we see the physical.
It's something you can. It's something you could certainly see happening, that someone could commit suicide because they accumulate such a large debt that they can never repay.
And more like Toei's character personality, it makes sense that he would have a childhood trauma because he's into crime now. So that makes sense. Whereas like normal anime, they're just run-of-the-mill Joes and they don't have parents. Yeah. So this makes sense. Yeah.
So because of this, he has to go live with his grandparents, who take over the soba shop from the parents, and they're trying to run it, but much like their parents, they're not able to keep it open. So they're contemplating going out of business, like closing up shop. And
wait, what?
You didn't get that?
When was that?
They were trying to close up shop because they couldn't pay the debt back?
During the flashback?
Yeah. That was his grandparents he was with, not his parents.
I know, but that's not what I understood. What I understood was... Oh, wait. Unless that's exactly what you're saying.
Yes.
What I understood... Okay, just to be clear, what I understood is that his parents accumulated debt, so they had to sell the shop. That has nothing to do with his grandparents.
They were still running the shop, though.
If you say... I don't think they were.
I think they were. I think that's what you're supposed to imply from that, is that they took it over. Because I'm assuming because they were in debt to.
I assume they just came over to take it out.
I took that as them taking over the shop because they were the ones closing it down.
Who knows? Anyways,
anyway,
it's not a big deal.
It's that's just how I interpret it. Maybe they just came to clear everything out because the lease was up. I don't know. But the point is that their grandparents, the Toei's and Chikai's grandparents were there, and the Yakuza who they owe this debt to ends up taking Toei as a hostage, but seems not even give a shit about the grandparents.
So I assumed, okay, this isn't a big deal, but I've watched this episode multiple times. We both have, but the first time I watched this episode, I assumed that the Yakuza that we see in the episode are the ones they owe the debt to, but I don't think that's necessarily true, because that makes no sense that they would steal from the people that they owe the debt to. I think they're stealing from a different Yakuza to pay the debt to an actual person that has nothing to do with Yakuza. But I just
That
thought
could
I'd put
be.
it out there.
Because
I was confused for a little while. I'm like, what? That doesn't make sense. Why would you steal from the person? That doesn't make sense. It's actually quite confusing because they go through it really quickly. But
they do.
Yeah.
There's not a lot that's elaborated on this, and you're left to imply a lot of what's going on especially with the debt that the parents accumulated and its relation to the Yakuza.
Yeah. Just thought I would.
I personally think that the whole reason the Yakuza was even involved, they may not have owed the debt directly to Yakuza or the Yakuza boss, but maybe they owed it to someone that the Yakuza was involved with.
I think my theory is that Chikai just went to the Yakuza out of nowhere, and that was his solution to the debt, was to go to the Yakuza, get the money from the Yakuza, and then give it to the debtor.
Maybe.
But it could be your thing. I don't know. It is kind of random to just randomly go to the Yakuza. So
yeah.
Who knows? I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe that's something that will be, I guess, illuminated in a future episode. We don't know yet.
We don't know.
But one of the things that does happen after the whole, what do you call it? The fucking... Jesus, my mind's gone blank. What is it called when they go fight when they go fight the
Oh God, I don't know. Oh, the Kappa zombie.
The Kappa zombie. Thank you.
Wait, before
I wanted to call it Kappa Ghost, and I'm like, that's not right. That's not right.
But honey, well, zombie doesn't make any sense either. But before we get to that, I just wanted to make a quick statement that. Wait, I don't know if this actually happened. I don't know the order of events. But, like, the Yakuza took Toei as a hostage, but they didn't take his grandparents as a hostage. I think that's a plot hole, because that makes no sense.
It may be.
Because they said they went to the grandparents, and the grandparents were like, we don't know where Chikai is. So they're like, okay. And they just leave them alone. But then they take Toei as a hostage.
That could be, now that you mention that could be a plot hole that I just didn't see before. You could be right.
Who knows?
Again, it might be elaborated on in a future episode.
Maybe. So what happened in the Kappa zombie fight?
So I'm not to say, I'm talking about after the Kappa zombie fights are probably the least interesting part of the show, to be honest. Well, I mean, they're always brilliantly animated.
Something.
And the most way out there, but so
you don't like the butt juice?
After the first couple of times, you kind of started to expect it. But no, there's a plot twist in the leaking scene after the whole fight, where so in the scene that happens before the OP, it's shown and heavily implied that Chikai was the one that shot this Yakuza boss. However, in this leaking scene, we find out that it was Toei who killed the Yakuza boss with Chikai's gun.
Plot twist!
I know.
No. That was such a like, oh my god, Becky, did you just see what happened there moment? Because I was like waving my fan, trying to cool off at how much drama there was. I love the plot twists in this. It's just so much. So much happening.
Yeah, and it kind of just happened to be that Chikai was nearby when it happened. And so
Chikai was close?
He was close, you might say, yes.
Chikai was Chikai.
Chikai was Chikai. And so what you find out is that Chikai has been pretending to be the one that killed the Yakuza boss instead of Toei. And he's basically been gaslighting to him about this whole thing.
So I wrote down that what Chikai did to Toei is similar to gaslighting. But I wouldn't say it's exactly gaslighting.
No, should we define gaslighting for people who might not know?
Yeah.
Okay, so the definition of gaslighting, more or less, it's a form of psychological manipulation in which a person tries to sow seeds of doubt in a specific person or a group of people by making them question their memory or their perceptions of their own memory or their sanity.
That's a very specific definition.
Thank you. I found it online.
Anyways, so gaslighting in my experience, is most commonly used to describe domestic abuse, where
it's used a lot. Yeah.
Where the abuser would abuse the victim and then pretend that what the abuse didn't happen, and then the victim questions whether the abuse actually happened or not because they don't trust themselves.
Yeah.
They don't trust their own memories of what actually happened. They trust what their abuser is telling them happened.
It's also used a lot by pedophiles.
Interesting. I didn't know that. But I can imagine that. So yeah, gaslighting is a term of abuse, which in this situation, it's used to help Chikai mentally. So it's like it's like similar to gaslighting, but like for a good reason, not for a bad reason.
Well, it's for the sake of Toei, not Chikai. Because
sorry. That's what I meant.
I knew what you meant, but I was just gonna say it is pretty much gaslighting. It may not meet the specific like strict definition of gaslighting, but it's pretty damn close. Except it is being done, I would say, for a good reason, to give Toei a better life than Chikai probably perceives that he has. Yeah. I mean, Chikai probably doesn't have... It's sort of implied that he doesn't have that great of a life.
You're so mean. You're like... You sound... I know what you mean, but the way you said it sounded so bad. I mean, you're like, Chikai's pretty...
He's pretty fucked up.
Okay, well, I think... Well, the most obvious reason he did it was that Toei wouldn't have to run from the law like Chikai is.
Yeah.
So Toei can actually live like a normal life, and Chikai can run from the law by himself.
Yeah.
So he's such a like selfless protector of his Ototo-chan.
Well, and it's like something that he goes on to say, that Chikai goes on to say, that bad people are the ones that survive in this world. It's like he wants Toei to see him as a bad person. Because
so that he doesn't see himself as a bad person.
Well, yeah, pretty much.
Single tear emoji.
Pretty much, yeah.
All the feels.
He probably also doesn't want him to feel guilty about what he did, because if you think about it, Toei killed a bad person.
But he still killed a person.
Yeah, he still killed a person.
That could really fuck you up, and I'm sure it has. But it already fucked Toei up. But Chikai is trying to minimize the damage.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah, I just want to do a side note that this form of gaslighting was also used on season 9 of The Walking Dead, which finished airing 3 months before Sarazanmai started airing, which is coincidental?
Coincidence? I think not.
I don't know.
It's conceivable that there might be a relation here. There might be some kind of a reference here, because this is an anime original, so it would have had to have been written relatively recently. That's the only thing I can think of, though.
Yeah. I just want to put that out there.
No Walking Dead spoilers.
# watch The Walking Dead.
But also something else that came out of this whole leaking scene is that afterwards, Toei's pretty calm about it. Like in some of the other leaking scenes that we've had, the other characters have been really uptight and like panicked that their secret's out.
Yeah.
And Toei not so much.
Enda's like, "What the fuck, dude?" And Toei's like, "Yeah, I did that."
Like, yeah, it was me. It was whatever. Huh?
So like that leads us to question whether Toei actually remembered the truth all along, and he's known this.
Yeah.
And he understands that Chikai is taking the blame for him so that he can lead a life out of prison or not running from the law, which is interesting. But if that's true, then it wouldn't be it would be attempted gaslighting.
It would be
but
attempting to gaslight. Actually, it brings up the question: who's gaslighting whom?
Oh my God! Stop. That makes no sense. That makes no sense.
What if they're both trying to gaslight each other?
No, that you are just using the word gaslighting too much now.
Nah.
Stop.
It was an interesting twist. It does make you doubt as to whether Toei is actually knows what happens or not. it puts a lot of doubt in the viewer's mind, which I think is actually a good thing in this instance. It certainly makes you want to know more.
Yeah. I mean, they arranged the narrative so that it would be a plot twist for the viewer, but not necessarily a plot twist for Toei.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the story is trying to tell me.
Actually, if you think about it,
so I don't know.
The leaking scenes that we've seen so far are all kind of set up by that, where they're plot twists to the viewer, but not necessarily the character or characters themselves.
Yeah, but this is different.
I suppose it is different because of how the reaction is, for sure. Because
the plot twist was that you knew something as a child that you didn't know before. That you remember something as a child that you didn't necessarily remember as an adult or whatever he is, a child.
It's almost like something early, it's like something in your adulthood triggering like a repressed memory, almost.
Yeah, could be that.
Yeah. All right, so towards the end of this, so you mentioned in a past episode that we talked about that the old familiar trope with gay relationships in anime, about how a character will confess being in love with a character of the same sex, and the character that gets confessed to just kind of ignores it. And that was kind of called out in this episode, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, it took me a while to catch it, but there's this one line that Toei says to Enta, questioning why Enta puts up with Kazuki's shit of yanking his chain all the time. And I didn't know what that phrase meant.
You didn't know what yanking your chain means?
I mean, I just thought that it meant like teasing you. Like I guess it is teasing you, but like not
in a malicious way.
Annoying you. I thought yanking someone's chain meant annoying someone, but more specifically it means tricking them.
Yeah, deceiving them.
Right? Yeah, deceiving them.
Yeah.
So
not necessarily in a malicious way, but
yeah, it could be in like a joking way.
Yeah.
But I mean, that is exactly what we, the viewers, called out Kazuki for doing to Enta, for ignoring him and yanking his chain and not addressing, Enta's confession, basically, to Kazuki. So
it's almost like the writers calling out the own trope that they used.
Well, I'm glad the writers are somewhat conscious of their own bullshit, but I'm not. I don't even know where this is going. It's interesting, though.
Maybe he'll be forced to. Maybe sometime afterwards he'll be forced to, I don't know, respond in some way, whether on the positive or the negative.
If you were forced to respond, you should have responded immediately. I don't want to wait 10 episodes. I'm so salty. I'm so salty that he didn't respond immediately. I know. Well, Kazuki has his own shit to deal with. So.
Speaking of Kazuki, we got in the post-credit scene. God, you can't skip anything with this, for fuck's sake. The post-credit scene had a pretty forthright statement from Kazuki about how he feels about Haruka. And it was basically like, and he says it like there's no sugarcoat. It's like, I hate Haruka.
Which makes no sense. We're back to just got a glimpse of like reality and like clairvoyance to know why Kazuki is doing what he's doing, and now it just makes no sense. Now we just don't understand at all.
It's like dun dun dun.
It's not like dun dun dun. It's more like what the fuck? I don't like what? Question mark, exclamation mark, table flip.
Table flip. Yeah, it was. I certainly came out of nowhere. I was when they got to the post-credit scene. I'm like, well, what are they gonna do? They've kind of wrapped up a bunch of threads in this episode. It's got to be another cliffhanger thing that they're just gonna leave us on. And like, what are they gonna say? And it's like, I hate Haruka. Well, you have a funny way of showing it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it leaves a lot open for what's gonna happen next. Holy shit. All right, so
maybe he's gonna hate fuck Haruka.
Yeah, well, there's the incest thing again. All right, so I want to wrap this up with talking about a couple of things that have to do with some surrealist elements that we've seen, not just in this episode, but just kind of so far in the show. One thing that happened very specifically in this episode was two things, actually. There's a scene where Enta is talking to Toei outside of the soba shop. Toei himself is awkwardly posing or propping himself up or something on a pile of support beams at a construction site. This is very reminiscent, easy for me to say, of some scenes that happen in the abandoned cram school in the Monogatari series, with desks being piled up just haphazardly and then characters standing on top of it.
And also, like, specifically his pose is like a fashion model, just like the
it's
women.
Almost like a JoJo's pose, I'll be honest.
Yes, as much as I don't want to admit that. Just like the women in Monogatari, they often just like pose like fashion models while they're having casual conversations.
Yeah.
Which is it's just I mean, it's interesting to watch. It's very surreal.
Yeah. I don't know. When I saw that scene, I thought about some of the scenes that take place in the cram school with Meme and some of the other characters, and how there's always like really weird poses or just characters standing on top of shit that's piled up. It's very reminiscent of that. Also, something else that is slightly reminiscent of Monogatari, the Yakuza boss, what little we actually got to see of him, it reminded me, and apparently you too, of a little bit of Kaiki from the Monogatari series, about how he's just trying to, I guess, take stuff from people, deceive them.
Conning children for money?
Yeah, conning young people, for money.
Isn't that like one
of the things that Kaiki does in Nise?
His money-making schemes.
Yeah, well, one of the things that Kaiki does is he cons his little sister Karen out of a bunch of money.
Gotta get the money somehow.
Yeah, it's very reminiscent of that. I don't know if it's specifically middle schoolers, because that's the children that Kaiki targeted in Nise Monogatari, but
there's
definitely reminiscent.
Something in the Yakuza's evil grin that reminds me of Kaiki.
Yeah, it's like you think that maybe he's not all evil, but he does some pretty evil stuff. I don't know.
All evil.
But I wanted to point those out. We've had some elements of surrealism before in the show, but these are two specific elements. Again, referencing back to the Monogatari series, which this series seems to be doing a lot. I'm not complaining about that, though.
It's a cool callback.
Yes. So the end title card for this episode was "I want to connect, but you're so far away."
So we haven't talked a lot about it, but most of the end title cards have been really like poignant.
Yeah.
They've really been hard hitting. It's almost like it's what the end title card has written down is exactly what the character is about to say.
Mm-hmm.
It's like filling in your sentences, and this one was pretty hard hitting too, because like Toei really wants to, have a normal relationship with his brother, which he cares for, but that can't happen for the reasons that we just saw. So it's really sad. So
and all of the end title cards, which also happen to be the titles of the episodes so far, they've all started with "I want to connect, but ...
And it's so fun and interesting because like you start the episode and you see the title card and it's like you don't know the significance of it, and it looks just really boring and bland and like typical, like very trivial, like oh you're so far away, like who cares. But then at the end it's like, wow, that's very specific and very decisive in how like it's specifically hitting very powerful emotion.
Yeah. And I think that is a great way to end this episode review. So thank you. In tears, yes. So thank you all out there for dropping in to listen to us. We hope you enjoyed it, because we always enjoy bringing this stuff to you. Do be sure to check out our other Sarazanmai episode reviews that we've done so far. If you want to check out other previous episodes of the podcast, you can find us on YouTube, SoundCloud, iTunes, and Spotify. If you want to keep up with what we're doing, you can join us on Discord, Facebook, Twitter, and as always, visit our website. Shoot us an email if you have any questions or comments, or if you have any ideas for topics you'd like for us to talk about in the future. Links to all these things will be down below in the description. And do be sure to tell us what you thought of episode 4 of Sarazanmai. As always, I have been your host, Alex, and I will see you next time. Say goodnight, show.
Good night. I don't have anything witty.
No, you don't want to dance with me? Uso, uso,
What?
kaba, uso.
I'm not a furry.